Hey people, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case talking about sights, scopes. What kind of sight or scope do you want in your survival gun, in your prepper gun? What kind of sights do you want in your gun for the end of the world? Well, let's get right to it. I mean, any gun that you buy these days of acceptable quality will have decent enough sights. Now, the exception has always been the Glock pistol, especially with those plastic sights. This is a Generation 4. Plastic sights are famously fragile, and I've seen it actually more than once during some training exercise where you use your handgun single-handed so as to clear a malfunction or chamber around. Boom, you go like that and the little plastic sight just flies off. The sights work accordingly, accurate enough as it is, but the plastic ones, yes, they are famously fragile and likely to pop out. I've seen some break from in the front, and some that have been around for years and years without any issue. But in all of the Glocks I've ever owned, the first thing I've replaced has been the sights. Now, if you have a Glock that already comes with metal sights, maybe that's not your case. But plastic, I would get rid of it right away. I usually go with these, with metal sights, square in the back, because I want to have that ability of catching this rare sight on a belt, on a table, whatever it is, so as to do those single-handed drills where you catch this on whatever it is, you pull back, clear malfunctions, chamber rounds. Now, I also go with Tritium insert because it gives you something that is more visible in low light conditions. Keep in mind the following. As time goes by, that radioactive material will degrade, and after a few years it will barely be noticeable. The first couple of years are usually the best, then it starts going down. Eventually you are barely left with a little bit of light in there, maybe not enough to make much of a difference. Especially if you consider that these days you may want to have, especially in a home defense gun, you probably want to have one of these things. So you get your light, and that's it in terms of identifying targets at night, which is something that night sights will not allow you to do. And that's one of the things that sometimes when people are so adamant about, oh, night sights, well, but what about identifying what you're looking at? Yeah, I can see my sights. I get that. Can I see what I'm shooting at? If I don't have enough light to see my sights, right, how is it I have enough light to identify what I'm shooting at? And in terms of home defense, by far, that's going to be far more of a priority than being accurate when shooting something you haven't even identified yet. So this is what I go with. I think it's a good idea, but if you want to have some other sight, you may have something with fiber optic. Usually those are a little bit more accurate when shooting competition. I've noticed that. So yeah, but do have something that has a square shape here in the back, especially for catching on stuff, and do go with weapon mounted lights as well. It's going to be something that gives you quite a bit of an advantage. Now, you can go with other type of sights, still metal sights, like adjustable ones, such as the ones that I have in my beautiful Colt Python. These are very fine adjustable sights, very high quality, and it has a visible orange insert in front. This is nice. This allows you to see nicely even when putting it on top of some black object like that, right? If this is all black, you would barely see it, if that. Now, with these, you can see quite nicely. So this is a very nice setup, not only for a home defense gun, survival gun, also a hunting gun, a gun that you're going to be using maybe for some medium size or large game. Even 357 Magnum is definitely capable of that, and with a 6-inch barrel you can squeeze a lot of accuracy out of these things. But you especially are able to do that when you're capable of adjusting this finely. So with enough care, 25 meters, maybe a little bit more, you can adjust it with that specific load that you're using and get good accuracy out of it. In my experience, they're not terribly fragile, even though, of course, it is smaller components inside. But these are guns that are, reasonably sturdy, and you're not going to be treating it anyway like a Glock pistol. Being a revolver, you need to take a little bit better care of that, using it in a proper holster. So those are nice things to have, good size. Now, as we all know, eyes will deteriorate as time goes by. Eventually, you may want to get yourself a red dot for your handgun. That's perfectly okay as well. well. Glocks do come with a mount ready to go, and if that's the case for me, I can still use my iron sights well enough, but I'm not afraid of going into a red dot if my eyes start to go and I don't see it as clearly. Now, in terms of long guns, well, I still think you should have your iron sights. Your iron sights should be your go-to sights, and that's what you should be, cutting your teeth into and being good at. Again, time goes by, eyes will not be the same, and eventually you will want to have a little bit of help. Now, you can combine things. For example, in my AR, I have the traditional triangle front sight, which is not exactly your traditional iron front sight because this has an adjustable gas system. It's still direct impingement of gas, traditional AR, but here in the front it has a couple little screws that allow me to regulate the amount of gas that goes through specifically to given loads that I want to use in the gun. So there's a little bit of fine tuning. It's not a short gas piston or anything like that, but you can adjust how much gas goes through so as to have a bit of a finer tuning of your gun and the ammo that you're running in. But besides that, one of the things I really like about this is I have my triangle here and I have my front sight. Now, I know that these days cool guys all go with something that's going to be, you fold it down or whatnot. I like the idea of whatever is going on, whatever happens, if this is all dead, I can still go like that, cheek weld, eye, scope, front sight, and I'll be decently accurate enough at, say, 25 meters or so. Even just using the shape of the front sight alone, if the proper stance is in place, 25 meters, I feel comfortable enough to hitting human-sized target at that distance. So it gives me quite a bit of peace of mind, Now, of course, if I'm using proper sight alignment, I will have my rear sights. Do I have anything fancy? No, it's just your typical mag pull here on the back. That's okay. Why? Because I want something lightweight. So this is very lightweight for an AR, 14.5-inch barrel, nothing much to it. But if I'm using iron sights, because I have nothing left, I'll use this. And these are okay. These are quite durable, actually more durable than many of the metal ones. Sometimes people get confused and think, oh, it's plastic. Well, plastic is a lot more flexible and takes more of a beating than aluminum and often steel as well. So this is perfectly fine as it is, and I'm really not counting on that as my first go-to option. Again, even without bringing this up, I still have that front sight, which I feel very comfortable with. But of course, my main aiming will be using the aim point that I have here. Now, aim point, these are great, these are expensive. Aim point, Daniel Defense Base, you're talking about maybe a 800, $1,000 scope and base and so on. So it's not cheap. It's one of the more expensive that you have, but it's also the best one that you have in the market. Keep in mind, this is a red dot. It just puts a little red dot through your scope and you're aiming with that, but it's super reliable, tough. You can leave it on for years and it's still running. I mean, there's people that leave it on constantly, never turn it off. So those are the reasons why you pay these things, why they're so expensive. Is it a adjustable scope? No. And if you want to make the most out of your rifle, you probably want to go with something that gives you some magnification so as to, I mean, it's not making the gun more accurate, but what I can tell you is that at 100, 200 yards, 300 yards, you're going to be fine with a red dot. Now, you're getting into that 300-yard range, even at 200 yards. Let's be honest, you cannot tell much who you're shooting at those distances. So the great help that you get in a scope with magnification is, yeah, you're going to be seeing the target a lot clearer, and you'll be able to put rounds at further distance more accurately. Now, in the context of home defense, forget about it. You're not shooting home defense at 300 yards away. Now, given that we're looking at a gun for rule of law, home protection, homeland protection, giving what we're seeing around the world. If you want to have your gun for fighting against the Russians, well, some people apparently will side with Russians once they invade your country. So keep that in mind. Maybe you're fighting along the Russians and you want to have your scope so as to be a good commie. Anyway, the point of using a gun in warfare, yes, you probably want to go with something that have some magnification. This is a lot better for those quick shots at within 200 yards or so. You can perfectly shoot at 500 yards and hit your target with it. Maybe go with a lower power so as to get a tiny little dot and some spotter there helping you out. But really, if that's the case, go with a scope with magnification, and that's helping you out quite a bit. In terms of red dots, do you have cheaper options? Yes, of course you do. I have this one that costs 30 bucks. I think I paid 25 or 20 something for it. So 20 bucks scope versus 1,000 bucks. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that this you can trust your life on, this you cannot. That's basically what it is. Now, this one I haven't mounted in my shotgun for a few years now, and it's still going strong. It still works. It hasn't even lost much of a zero. I mean, I'm not taking a close look, given that it is a shotgun, right? So I'm not taking long shots with this thing, but at 25, 30 yards with slugs, yeah, it's making a big old ragged hole at those distances. So it's not walking too much. If it is, I'm not noticing it. Now, what you get here in terms of a red dot, yeah, it is a red dot. Let me see if I can get the angle there right, but yeah, that's not all that good. Anyway, you understand my point. You have a red dot here that it works at times, but it is not the quality that you can get out of a better gun. I think we all understand that. Trying to find a way to get this through the. Let me see if that works. Yeah, not so much. Anyway, red dot in your gun. There, almost. Yeah, no luck. But you just don't know when it stops working. I mean, it definitely hasn't got the battery life of your aim point. Your aim point, you can leave it on for years. This one I've left on for days, accidentally still working, but I wouldn't even trust it for that. One day you will pick that up and it will not work. It's simply the way it is. It's simply the difference of 1,000 bucks and 30 bucks quality control and manufacturing. This is the best red dot in the planet. That's the cheapest one. Works okay? Yeah, I'll leave the links below for all of this stuff. I mean, I'll leave the link for these. I'll leave it with the affiliate program from Amazon. So if you're making any purchases, much appreciated. If you use the affiliate link, doesn't change your price at all, helps the channel quite a bit. But I mean, these are even sold out usually. So people buy these and they buy those as well. I mean, usually you will find that all of this stuff is sold out. Check it down there in the links. I'll leave the Hollow Sun. Those would be, if you cannot afford this, but you still want to have that red dot in your gun, I would not trust my life to that. And if I cannot afford this, I would go with Hollow Sun, Vortex. The SIG ones are okay. You can check the reviews of what people say. Usually they're quite happy with those. This would be for most of the needs that you have in terms of a carbine, and yeah, with a magnification scope, that would be maybe for more of the homeland defense rather than home defense. I very much like the idea of keeping something small, compact, super simple, and just having that red dot. You will not have to make greater shots than that in the great majority of the situations that you're involved in. And if you're looking at something else, yeah, maybe get yourself an extra scope so that you have that other option if it ever comes down to that. Learn to run both, learn to use both. Remember, it's mostly about you, not the scope you're using. Folks, if you want to learn more about survival and preparedness, Street Survival Skills would be the one to recommend for learning how to use all of this stuff and surviving the economic collapse. Over 1,000 reviews in Amazon. Thank you very much. See you on our next video.